and the posters were being kept at the house that the Misfits YouTube group were staying at in LA. Carson was there, Schlatt was there, Cooper was there. We were all just trying to like sign all of these posters as fast as we could because there's so many of them, and it was taking us literally hours to do. At this point, there was maybe about 5 or 6 people in the house at this time, and that's because at that point the whole main Misfits crew had gone out to dinner somewhere. I don't know if you know this about the Misfits in general, but they smoke a lot of weed. Every trip they do, they probably spend a couple $1,000s on weed, okay? They smoke the Mary Jane. They do the weed. In order to make the process of signing these posters go a little bit smoother, I had smoked like half a joint of weed, so I was already decently high because I hadn't smoked in a while either. Signing away, crossing my I's, dotting my T's. However, my personal reaction to weed is that I get the munchies. I get the munchies pretty hard. I smoke a little bit of the marijuana, and then I say, oh, I'm gonna eat an entire sleeve of club crackers with no cheese because gluttony. I had originally planned to go to dinner with my girlfriend and her father, so I was trying to wean off of the high and just kind of sign the posters and wait until it kind of wore off, and then I would go and do that. One of the things that they had at this house was they had a giant counter in which a bunch of snacks were all laid out. There was chips, there was more chips, there was, I think, pizza. I don't fucking remember. As I look across this horizon of bountiful snacks, I see a Nerds Rope, and my monkey brain is like, oh. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I remember Nerds Rope. I haven't had Nerds Rope in fucking forever, dude. I'm thinking back to my childhood where we would go to a campground in Maine and I would waddle on down to the snack shack and grab myself a Nerds Rope, and before eating it, considering its potential applications as nunchucks or trying to tie a knot with it. But then realizing, I'm a kid. I don't know how to tie knots, and my prefrontal lobe won't even be done cooking for another 20 years, so what's even the point? Give me a slush puppy, give me a Game Boy SP, let's fuck it up.
But Lord have mercy, did I learn in this moment I no longer was a child, but a man.
A man who experiences consequence in the worst way possible. So I'm signing more posters, you know, I'm cruising, I'm having a great time, alright? Nerds Rope tastes a bit strange, but that could also be my perception that I have of being already high, and it kind of, if you've ever been high before, it kind of messes with your perception of taste a little bit. It was like drinking a Diet Coke versus a normal Coke, where there's like, you know, there's something there. There's something there. But I don't fully process why it tastes different. So I finish the Nerds Rope. And then I go to have another Nerds Rope because I'm high and have the munchies. As I'm biting into the next Nerds Rope, one of the Misfits guys says, Ted, don't eat those. Those are edibles. Sorry. I must have heard you wrong. Scoozy? Yeah, Ted, that's an edible. So I say, no fucking way. How much was it? And he says, I think it might be like 60 milligrams. What? 60 milligrams? To give you context, the largest edible I'd had up until this point in my life was 20 milligrams. So of course I ask, are you sure? One of the guys walks over to the counter and picks up the package of the Nerds Rope, and with the most you are fucked face I've ever seen in a person, he says, it's actually 400 milligrams. Now remember, I've already freaked out when I heard that it was a 50 milligram edible, and I've just been told that it is actually 8 times that amount. So you may be asking yourself, Ted, how the fuck did you not know that that was an edible? And that's a good question. Let's start with the packaging. That's the packaging. It uses the same packaging as the actual branded Nerds Rope. It's got a thing that says tear and share, as if it's just a normal candy. In hindsight, that's very much so implying, for a good reason, that you really should be sharing it and not eating it entirely on your own. If you're not really paying attention, and it's been like 8 years since you've had a Nerds Rope, this is pretty easy to mistake for a Nerds Rope. In addition to that, there was a very specific and deceptive way that everything was laid out as snacks in the Misfits house. And I'll just let Swagger Souls explain that for me.
There was a very reasonable way, like we set it up, because the Nerds Rope was an edible. It was a 400 milligram edible, and he didn't read the packaging. But we have, on that bench, it's a big-ass bench. It's snacks and food, chips, Pringles, gummy bears, all that shit.
Munchies.
And then there's weed food, which is edibles, in between that and the weed, which makes sense. If,
like
you know,
a spectrum.
Yeah, like a spectrum.
Progressively dangerous as you go
Yes.
on.
That's the thing, is that it would make more sense to kind of put the weed food away so that you don't confuse the
Confuse it
food
with the
the weed.
actual food.
Which is
I'm
what
so-
happened
Which
to
is
poor
what
Ted.
happened to Ted. He was tripping
Amazing.
balls.
If you've ever been in a car crash, even if it's not your fault, there's a certain feeling after it immediately happens. It's this mind-racing feeling when you have absolutely no idea what to do, but you also know that something has to be done or you're fucked. AKA panic. So at this point, I begin to freak out for 3 reasons. First of all, I didn't know if I was personally prepared mentally to get as high as I was about to get. Second of all, I had made plans for dinner with my girlfriend and her father that night, and I definitely won't be making it. And I'm pretty sure she's gonna be a little bit pissed. And the third reason, I hadn't smoked weed in 2 months, which meant that my tolerance was rock bottom. I like to explain this with what I like to call the skyscraper analogy. Right here we have the tolerance skyscraper, which represents my tolerance to marijuana. Let's just say that whenever I smoke weed, I start at the ground floor in the lobby. If my tolerance were higher, then maybe I'd go a couple stories up to the mid-level apartments. That's where all the stoner kids from high school hang out. And they're all pretty high up there, but it's nothing really to be worried about. You're probably couch locked, but you'll be fine. With my tolerance at 0 though, I knew in my heart and my soul that I was going all the way up to Cheech and Chong's fucking penthouse as an unwilling and unexpected guest for an undetermined amount of time. As things stand right now, I don't even live in the building. I'm from out of town and I sometimes commute into the city. Oh, it's a Friday night. Oh, we should go get drinks in the city. That's what I'm operating on. I know that I'm on a timer. Most edibles take about 45 minutes to an hour before they kick in. But I know that I've taken this edible about 10 to 15 minutes prior, which means, math, I've got about 45 minutes before this edible hits me and I die. Although other things can affect this, such as being on an empty stomach, which I was. My first thought was that I need to make myself throw up, because if I can get rid of as much of this edible as possible, I could potentially mitigate the level of inebriation that I was about to experience. So I stumble over to the bathroom and I start to gag, and I'm trying to make myself throw up, but I've never made myself throw up before. I don't know how to do it. So the next step is that I got Carson on his phone looking up how-tos on WikiHow on how to make myself throw up, and then Cooper's in the kitchen and he's making cups of salt water for me to chug, because apparently if you chug salt water it helps with the throwing up process. I'm not sure how true that was. It just ended up with me just throwing up a bunch of pinkish salt water. So I can't speak for its effectiveness, but there you go. And I'm pretty sure since the Nerds Rope was sort of a candy, sugar-based food, it was really easy for my stomach to digest it really fast. So I'm pretty sure if I hadn't thrown it up within maybe 5 minutes, there really wasn't that much that I could do from there. So by the time I was done throwing up, some food that we had ordered earlier arrived, and Cooper basically advised, from this point on, all I could really do was, buckle up. Strap in and get ready for the fucking high of a lifetime. God bless my soul. So I'm going to give you guys a walkthrough of what this high was like. It wasn't fun. I also have some video footage that Cooper took, so link to his channel in the description. Once I kind of came to terms with the fact that I was going to have to ride out the high no matter what, I decided to give myself a home base. Just somewhere where I could ground myself and not really need to worry about moving around or anything. I found myself a nice armchair, and I sat myself down there and prepared for the ride of a lifetime. The first thing that happened was a classic weed sim